Okay, we are showing at 3:00 p.m. So I'll go ahead and call to order. This is the Interstate Commission for EMS Personnel Practice. It is the Executive Committee, our regular meeting, and it is January 8th, 2025. And so I'll go ahead and welcome all of you on here. And Secretary House, roll call.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Chairman Kenny.
Present.
Vice Chair Denny. Secretary House is present. Treasurer Vandeloon.
Present.
Thank you. Member at Large Kaler.
Present.
And immediate past Chair Schmieder.
Yeah.
Perfect. You've got a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Welcome and appreciate. I see we have at least one other commissioner on, and we have members of the public on. We do encourage public attendance. Microphones are muted upon arrival. If you do wish to raise a question, there's a raise hand feature at the top. The chairperson will recognize you. And we usually give precedence to the executive committee and then commission members and then the public at large. If we do have comments, we do limit comments to 2 minutes or less. And if there are background noise, then the executive director is authorized to mute that individual or potentially remove from the meeting. And so with that, we'll go ahead and proceed forward. We do have an agenda that was posted and mailed out. And so we will open it up to comment for any matters that are not listed on this agenda. If you have any matters not listed, please use the raise hand feature and I will recognize you. We do have a little bit of a smaller agenda. We have an important meeting coming up in February for full commission, and we'll probably hear a lot about that. But we will go ahead and get started. So we'll proceed with the December 2024 meeting summary. Secretary House.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. And those meeting summary notes did go out in our packet, pages 2 through 4, I believe. And so looks great as far as I'm concerned. Thank you again, Donnie, as always. And I would be happy to make a motion to accept or to approve those minutes. Sorry.
Thank you. We have motion to approve and presumably post those minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second. Commissioner Kaler.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Kaler, with this second. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion, comment on the proposed meeting summary? Any objections to approving the proposed meeting summary? And any abstentions from voting on the meeting summary? We will show that approved, and we will go ahead and authorize our executive director to get those posted. Moving on to further reports, we have treasurer's report, and I'll recognize our treasurer, Commissioner Vandeloon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a starting balance of $55,407.36, 3 debits last month, and then we had 1 credit from the National Registry on the 5th. With our pending balance of $81,557.36 as of, I should say 1/1/25. My apologies. Any questions?
Any questions for our treasurer on the report? Seeing no questions, we will consider that report accepted. Thank you for that. Moving on to the chairperson's report. I do not have a lot. We had the holiday season. I hope everyone had a great holiday. We had a successful year last year. I think it's up to us. The executive committee is to continue to push the momentum and appreciate the work of both our standing committees as well as our work groups that we step up. And so hopefully those will keep us on track. With that, we do have some upcoming rulemaking scheduled for our February 12th February 12th full commission meeting. And I'll recognize the chairperson of the Bylaws and Rules Committee, Commissioner Schmieder.
Oh, thank you. And you have seen the rules. They are posted. They were up in the required timeline. I haven't heard of any comments. Donnie, have we received any comments?
We do have some comments, and I have added them as an appendix into the meeting book, and I can go down to those, Mr. Chair, if you want. The summary is we actually have 20 comments right now, and this has went out nationally, probably more than any EMS rulemaking in the history of EMS rulemaking has. It has been posted far and broad. The comments are very, very positive. The only comments that are not, super enthusiastic are comments not related specific to the rules, but more on just urging consistency, making sure all states are utilizing the compact equally, and that more states should join the compact. So, but nothing directly related to the actual rule itself of any concern. But all the comments are in the packet.
Cool. Other than that, I have nothing else to report. We will do a session at the end of January, our normal meeting. We'll open it up to the whole commission, answer any questions like we did the last time we did the rules, and hopefully it'll make it go smoother in February. With that, that ends my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Smeater. I also want to give you a call out. Thank you, and kind of your wisdom as the past chairperson by kind of doing a challenge and saying, hey, Texas has posted the rules as required, and it's interesting to see all the states then fire back to that challenge and make sure that they were posted on the state level. Appreciate you doing that. I think that's an excellent idea. I actually did not respond because Indiana had done it earlier and I had worked with Donnie, but thank you. It was good to know and see. And I think that is this, as I told Donnie when we had our pre-meeting, to see this many comments, on a rulemaking and not negative comments, it means I believe that we are reaching an audience and people have visibility of what the EMS Compact is doing. And I think this is big success for us. So thank you for the committee's work, Commissioner Smeater and your committee. And thank you, Donnie, for your work on that as well. And we look forward to that coming up at the February meeting. Donnie, I think you said you were still planning to work with Commissioner Smeater on an education session.
And that's the one that we will do in lieu of the normal bylaws committee. We'll make that into an education session.
So that will not be a public hearing per se, but will allow for presentation and answering questions, things of that nature. So that will be a good one, of course, for commissioners. It might be beneficial for some of your staff to hear too, so that if the rules are approved, they have that kind of visibility for it. So watch for that and consider participating. Okay, moving on. Next, we are up to you, Donnie, with the Executive Director's report.
Great. I'll give a couple of general updates, and then I'll share some documents from action items from December. As we enter in 2025, the thing that resonates with me is 2025 marks 10 years since Texas and Colorado passed the legislation. And it's really tough to imagine that we've been doing this together for 10 years now, which is really, really phenomenal. But 10 years is quite the mark. I think, we're moving a big ship, and a ship that's impacting national level EMS. Obviously, the actual privacy practice didn't get implemented until a number of years after that, when we had the threshold of 10 states and we had the data system and all that. But I was just reflecting on really the yeoman amount of work, the collaboration that went into this, and the way that now 10 years later, we have a mechanism shrouded in state law, or supported by state law, I should probably say, that brings together states to cooperate, not only on the interstate practice, but for truly the practice of EMS. And we're reaping benefits of that in many, many, many different areas. So I'm happy to tell you that the number of phone calls that I'm getting from states and state offices right now are increasing on a very positive side. making sure that we are proactive, making sure that we are answering questions in a uniform way. I'm getting phone calls still from employers. I know that we have a couple on here, and you get to see it. But employers who are leveraging the compact. I was speaking to a recent employer that was trying to help a local EMS system in a compact state that's short of personnel to surge personnel so that that system can continue to respond to operational calls. And that's exactly one of many of the purposes of the compact. And it reduces the bureaucracy. It preserves public protection. So those types of interactions are increasing. And I continue to say, if anyone faces any type of friction, give me a call. We still recognize that we have a lot of education to do, especially at the local agency and community level. I'm going to scroll down and provide some updates. Sorry for the fast scrolling that I have here, but first is in December, we approved a data protection work group report and action plan. We struck one of the recommendations out, which was to adopt the position paper, because we chose to pull that out into a separate action. But this is just that reworked statement, just to enter it into our minutes from that, the data protection. I would encourage commissioners and even members of the public, if you are not part of the FBI InfraGard, I would encourage you to consider joining that information intelligence sharing network, especially as it's related to foreign states, foreign adversaries, both data protection, terrorism awareness, stuff like that. So that's another resource, and it kind of ties into this with data protection. We are continuing to monitor the federal rulemaking. I've not had an update on the data protection rulemaking yet, but we're monitoring that. But this is ready to go. Let me just see if there's any questions on this, which was approved. This just shows the modification from December.
Any questions?
Okay.
I'm not. Go ahead.
The next related to that is the actual position paper on workforce privacy protection. The only change to this version of the paper is where we substituted out practitioner for the word clinician, or I should say clinicianer for the word practitioner. And so we made sure it was consistent. In reading this, there's probably a few things that we might want to do to add to this. So considering that this is on the agenda, what I would like to request the permission from the EC to do is actually to give me, if you agree, some leeway to make some clarifications to this statement. And particularly, I want to add some action plans to this for both compact states and non-compact states, and include that in the position paper. So for instance, it's the position of the commission that all states that are responsible for bulk protection of data shall also be hyper aware for data requests that may come or originate from foreign actors or adversaries, as an action statement. And that's something that could be added into this to make it stronger. Also, that all states will monitor information disseminated by the Department of Justice and the FBI. So I'm actually requesting the opportunity over the next week to do some clarification on this, and then I can recirculate it. We'll still have the chance at the EC to review it in February, and the full commission will have a chance to review it in February and choose to adopt it or not. But I wanted to ask the EC for that permission to make some clarifications to it if possible.
What is the thoughts from the exec committee? To me, it seems reasonable, since we can, like you said, we would still be able to review it at our February exec committee before proceeding onward. Any thoughts or concerns with that?
I would agree, Mr. Chair. I think that sounds like a phenomenal idea.
I would as well.
And Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to keep this intact and then add a maybe an alternate or an alternative position paper that incorporates it. And then the commission could determine if they wanted to accept the alternative or the original.
That sounds reasonable, and that sounds like I believe you have the consensus here. So I don't know that you need a vote. I think you can proceed with that plan.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Speaking of federal rulemaking, a few months ago, at the direction of the EC, we submitted a letter, an intergovernmental letter to the Department of Education, and we expressed some potential concerns with a proposed rulemaking related to Title IV education and funding, and as that related to asynchronous clock hour courses. And I'm happy to report that that was included in the Federal Registrar. The Department of Education heard what we said along with colleagues, and they removed that section of the proposed rules for the concerns that we highlighted. And they actually quoted from our letter. They didn't cite us, but they quoted from our letter in their rationale for removing that section. So I think, while we don't know if the proposed Department of Education rules would have had a true negative impact on EMS education, we do know that it was a concern. The Department of Education heard the concern and decided not to include that rule. So I think that's a huge win for the profession and a huge win for both the compact as well. The power of a unified voice of 24 states is very important when national matters come up.
Thank you, and I'll extend appreciation to Donnie for flagging the issue for us, and then the action of the board. But I think in the follow-up's great hearing that outcome, because I know there were a lot of concerns. I was unclear how it impacted Indiana, but this removes any question by them modifying it. Any other comments, thoughts from the exec committee on that? Okay, you can proceed, Donnie.
Thank you, sir. Just a note, as many of you probably know, this is the NAEMSP conference week. And I did not register for that event. I did not go. And I just want to, be transparent with the EC that, this is probably the first conference event where I have regret for not going. I bet I've been contacted 20 times in the past week asking if someone could meet me at NAEMSP. So I think it was a missed opportunity on my side, and it's something that I will prioritize for next year. But just wanted to let the EC know that when I was going through the conference planning for the year, that was just not at the top of my list, but it probably needs to be moving forward. I'll make sure it is. And for all the people that's contacted me, my apologies that I will not be there. We will meet in other mechanisms, but I haven't had that type of reach out in the years past, but we are definitely getting some very serious traction right now, and that was a missed opportunity. Although being post-flu and COVID, I don't know if I would have made the trip anyway, but but anyway, I wanted just to bring that to the attention of the executive committee.
As a reminder, you said the temperature in Denver, it is in San Diego, so it would have been much better weather for your health.
It would have been, yes, indeed. And then I did do a meeting with the new CIO of the National Registry. We talked about strategy and plans for the coordinated database moving forward. We talked through the proposed administrative rules. I don't have an action plan from that yet, but, we're in close collaboration, understanding that we are in need of continuous updates on that. So that's the updates I have. I'm happy to stand for any questions. Looking forward to a fantastic 2025 if I get my words out, and happy to stand for any questions.
From my perspective, thank you again, Donnie, for all the travel in 2024. I agree with you. I think that's a good sign that we have a national conference and a lot of people saying, hey, are you here? It shows that we are out and about, and that is a good thing on our visibility. Any other questions or comments for our executive director? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on. And the next agenda item is going to be the National EMS Coordinated Database update, and I'll go to Ray Mollers for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Executive Committee and guests. Just had earlier today a good meeting with Delaware. That's on the fire side, which is only BLS. Well, I won't say only. It is. They manage the BLS, so EMTs. They are another entity that does not have Social Security, but they do have registry numbers and are working through that process to be able to post to NEMSKID using the EMS ID, and that EMS ID as a primary, removing the Social Security requirement, data requirement. That project is near complete. It's functioning in the QA environment, and within the next couple weeks, by the end of the month, it will go live in production. It should be transparent to pretty much all states because it just creates a nullable field for social when they're transmitting licensure data into the coordinated database. But we're excited to make a step forward with that, and probably sometime, if I were to guess, sometime in February, we will see Delaware data entering. We're meeting with South Dakota tomorrow. They are in a position to start resubmitting data, and we'll learn what their plan is. I imagine that they will start from scratch, and because it contains both ALS and BLS, that they will start in the QA environment and move on after testing that. So those are the two states we're currently helping to get on board with NEMSKID. The others, we haven't heard anything of recent, but we're standing by in 25 to assist the rest of the states that are not on board. I don't think I have anything else of note. I just checked NEMSKID before getting on this meeting. All the states that are submitting are up to date, and if you look at Louisiana's last transmission, they're up to date today. So, any questions?
Thanks,
Hey, Ray, on that, this is Joe. On looking at the screen on the right side, it says State EMS Office, Idaho, has Texas, Louisiana, Idaho. It says most recent disciplinary creative date, and then last four. What is the difference between those four columns there?
Good
They don't seem
question.
to make sense to me.
Good question. There hasn't been any changes, so some of that is legacy from nurses, but the first column would be the date of the most recent discipline entered into NEMSKID. The second column, as it describes, is the number of cases created in the last 4 months. Now, the next two columns are where we actually have a fix requested in to be implemented. I'm just not sure where in the queue it is right now, but that third column is if someone goes in, so a discipline case is already in NEMSKID and that case gets updated, that's when that date will change. And then the number should reflect the updated cases in that fourth column. Right now, it's reflecting the same number as the second column. So that should be fixed in the near future. I just don't have a timeline on it yet. Did that answer your question, Joe?
Yeah, I guess so. So the
Kind of.
third column kind of means that somebody went in and changed something from the first column. And the last time
Correct.
someone did that, I'm looking at Texas, was in May of 24.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And a
Thank you.
common example of that would be, say that you suspended someone, they appealed it, and the suspension got overturned. So the case is in there, now it's updated. So in theory, it would be a way to track that. Those are very rare. I don't know that there's much utility on reporting those last two columns out, to be honest, right now, but that's the design concept of that report. Anyway, yeah.
And I will gladly adjust this monthly report to reflect, I can remove those two columns if it really does not give any data to you. But I'll gladly adjust to whatever is requested.
Well, and my only question would be, if it doesn't add anything, why not just get rid of it?
It'll be gone.
I mean, it just leaves questions and you're wondering what you're looking at. I think the first two columns are pretty easy to understand. Then you get lost there. So it's the wishes of the executive board, but I would just vote to get rid of it.
And Mr. Chair, if I could add one comment. As I look at the numbers of discipline cases added, I want to just use this opportunity to remind not only the EC, but all commissioners that are on. I suspect that the number of discipline cases issued are not being properly entered into the coordinated database. And just as a training reminder, if you change the status of a license from current to suspended, that shows up in the database immediately. But in accordance with the regulation, you also have to input a separate discipline case explaining that change. And as I look at the numbers here, I think we have a number of states that maybe people have left, or we've had some staff attrition. But I really think that we have some states that are behind on this. So I would encourage you, give me a call. Let me talk with you. And especially if you had staff attrition, let's make sure that those discipline cases are being reported in the full complete form. And that just caught my eye on this particular report. I know, for instance, there's been discipline cases in states that are not showing up here. So I think we have an education training gap, probably related to personnel change. From a public protection standpoint, the suspended license will still show, the privilege of practice will be out, but the details are missing.
Thank you for clarifying that, Donnie. Going back to Commissioner Schmieder's suggestion, is there any objection from the executive committee on asking Ray to drop the two columns as he referenced? Seems appropriate to me, but. Okay, Ray, if you wouldn't mind, you can go ahead and modify that for future meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ray on the NIMSKID report? Thank you. As always, appreciate that information and the collaboration with the National Registry. Moving on to new business. Our main item is just an overview of the commission meeting for February 12th, 2025, and recognize Donnie for updates on that.
Thank you, sir. Obviously just a reminder, this will be our first quarter commission meeting. All commissioners are required mandatory attendance to be there from every state. This will be rulemaking. Everything's been public notice. Everything's out there. The agenda has to be finalized 30 days in advance, and that will take place and be out there. Then the other thing is, in advance of the main meeting, in the years past, I've provided a travel justification letter. I will be updating that. I'll be sending your office a copy of that travel justification so that you can submit it with your travel request for the in-person meeting, or one in-person meeting a year, and that will be May 13th in Grand Rapids. So if you don't have that on your calendar, make sure you go and get that. That is during the NASIMSO meeting. And again, every state is required to attend these meetings. So with that, that's all I had, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for Donnie on his executive director support or comments? Okay, thank you for that update on the upcoming meeting. We look forward to having everyone there. Good attendance. We have good items on the agenda already. The agenda is posted. We'll continue to get ready for both the rulemaking, consideration policy statements, and it's always good to connect with all the commissioners. I would note we have 5 commissioners on besides the exec committee today. Thank you for taking time out of your afternoons to be here. The last thing we have is partner organization updates. Excuse me. I am not seeing any partners on here unless I'm overlooking someone. Is there anyone that would like to give an update on a partner organization?
And Mr. Chair, not to call out, but we have a colleague on from MedOps staffing. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. I know we've had some phone calls. Feel free to introduce yourself if you like. I don't want to put you on the spot, though. We always love having employers who actually use the compact on the call, and it's very helpful for us to have that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself. I appreciate the board and all the directors. My name's Kent Shutt. I'm the owner, CEO of MedOps Staffing, and truly appreciate the work that you guys are doing and allowing us to send our EMTs and paramedics across the country to work where there's some shortages. And want to help as much as I can and be part of it, and really it makes a difference. Just one agency that we went into, they were at about 83% on their compliance, and within 30 days after our staff being there, they were up to 97% compliance on their response time. So what you guys are doing and the work that you're doing to make it easier for these clinicians to be able to move from state to state is making a difference in people's lives. And so truly appreciate it, both from a business perspective and as a 34-year paramedic, as a clinician's perspective as well. So thank you very much. And I plan to start attending a lot of the meetings and just hearing what's happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Kent. On behalf of the commission, thank you for participating. It is always good to hear from people. We obviously represent the commissioners and the state offices that are involved in the compact, but it is good to hear from the people that are utilizing the compact. So you are always welcome. Appreciate it again. With that, I think we are at adjournment. We will have our next executive committee date is on February 12th, and then the future commission date for the rulemaking, I believe, I apologize, I think I was looking at the wrong line, is actually February 19th. And so February 12th will be our exec committee, And then February 19th is the actual full commission with the rulemaking. So with that,
Mr.
if
Chair,
there-
Mr. Chair,
yes.
if I can say one thing before we leave, I need to blow the horn for Texas. You all know that we were able to get $21 million from our legislators for recruitment and retention. And I'm excited to report today, as other states have been really struggling, since October 1st, 2022 to January 1st, 2025, we increased our certification roll by 10,416 people. So it was a huge success, and it was a true partnership between our EMS providers, our advisory councils, and our state legislators. But I just had to say that because I'm thrilled to death that we were hoping to get 2,500 new people, ended up getting 10,416 new people, and that really is helping our workforce quite a bit. So just had to blow our own horn. Thank you for the time.
Congrats, Joe. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Smeeder, and congratulations. That is, yeah, when you plan for that, you can quadruple your plans, then that is good. I knew of the grant thing, and I always love hearing the outcomes. Well done to Texas on behalf of that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? Then I will go ahead and show us adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.